Hello friends, when you're watching this video, I have officially turned 30. And as I was reflecting on the past decade of my life, the chaos of your 20s, there are a couple things that came up as lessons that if I were to sit down with myself when I was in my 20s, in my early 20s, these are the things that I wish that she had known. Now, what I want to say is that I don't regret anything in my 20s. I learned so much about myself, about the world around me. I feel like I've really evolved as a person. My 20s were the time when I pivoted from a professional athletics career to community college, to transferring to university, falling in love with history and research, going off to Oxford, and then to start my PhD at Yale. I've moved from all across California to Connecticut, and in the last couple of years, I've moved all the way to England. I've built a life here in the UK. I have met somebody that I hope to spend the rest of my life with. I've developed a real and genuine community of friends and have met so many incredible people along the way, as well as had some just truly remarkable experiences. And I'm sitting down to record this video so that way I can reflect on my own experiences and also share some lessons that I've learned with you. Now, if you're watching this video and you are not in your 20s, then I think this video is still going to apply. These are lessons that I have to learn and continuously remind myself. And this video is as much for me as it is for you. So we're gonna go ahead and dive on in to the 10 lessons for your 20s from me, a girl still trying to figure it out who has just turned 30. And before we dive into it, I just want to quickly say a thank you to the sponsor of today's video, which is Ana Luisa. Ana Luisa is a sustainable, carbon neutral jewelry wear company out of New York City. And I have been working with them on this YouTube channel for 5 years now. All of the jewelry that you see me wearing here and that you see me wearing in my videos is from Ana Luisa. They make me feel confident as a woman, and they also have added to my wardrobe by creating these kind of staple pieces. And I'll talk a little bit more about them later in the video, but I just wanted to give a quick shout out and thank you as we head on into the first lesson, which is that being happy is the most polarizing thing that you can be. We live in a world where hating yourself, being down on yourself is something that helps somebody else profit. The world thrives on you feeling insecure. Whether it's friends that don't actually have your best interest at heart, or it's somebody that benefits from you being unhappy, somebody who profits from you being unhappy, somebody who profits on your insecurity. Being happy is this shield that you can use against the pressures of the world around you. As somebody who has experienced depression, who has experienced many health and mental health challenges throughout my life, and especially in my 20s, I know how challenging being happy can be. But if I'm to impart any piece of advice, it is to see happiness as an act of resistance. It's to see it as this very positive and intentional act to seek out that sense of peace, that sense of hope, that sense of joy in yourself. And that comes along with having hobbies that you enjoy, by embracing the things that make you weird and quirky, by finding people that love and appreciate who you are in and out. Your 20s are also a time for experimentation, and oftentimes we sit in that feeling of, I don't know who I am, I need to go out and find myself, and all of those feelings I think come along with a lot of the developmental changes we experience in our early 20s. And I'm no psychologist, but based on my experience and reading a lot around developmental psychology, the one thing that I see as a commonality is that action and continuously experimenting is what helps you identify what is you, what you really enjoy, what really lights you up, what it really turns you off, and helps you begin to identify those features that you want to lean into, and that becomes you. That becomes the things that make you happy. So throughout your 20s, keep experimenting and see happiness as an act of resistance. Lesson number 2 is that having a community requires inconveniencing yourself, but do not sacrifice yourself. I think as people pleasers, especially as women, there is this tendency to please others, to make others comfortable. But I think oftentimes we go too far. We actually kind of murder ourselves in such a way where we allow somebody to take advantage of us, where we allow people to disrespect us. Being the person who is very giving, who is a planner, who shows up for others is not something that you should feel like you have to withhold. Being somebody who is caring, but is met with somebody who is compassionate, respectful, who is loving, it will never feel like that is being taken advantage of. And there is a difference between giving and it being received by somebody who is deserving because they are meeting you halfway, and somebody who sees that act of giving as an opportunity. But sometimes you need to learn the hard lesson. And this is going to be a common theme throughout this video, because there are people that you're going to meet who you are going to do a lot for. You're going to show up for, and they're not going to show up for you. And it's going to help you learn what the signs are. And so what I don't want anybody to take away from this video is that if somebody is not meeting you halfway right away, that it is an immediate sign that they should not be given any grace. For example, I am the planner among my friends. I am usually the person who is sending the text message saying, hey, do you want to do this? Or hey, I have this idea, what about this? It's very rare that I meet somebody who is on my same wavelength of wanting to make the plan. And I'm not going to be specific, but I feel like all of us have had a situation with a friend where you feel like you have given a lot of your time, your energy, and that when those opportunities are made, that they actually aren't there to see you. It's more so to have somebody to vent to, or to complain to, or to hear their side of the story and to over-explain to you or at you, but they're not actually meeting you halfway. And so I've gotten quite sensitive, I suppose, to knowing when somebody is meeting me halfway and when they are genuinely wanting to be there and are wanting to be a good friend to me as much as I want to be a good friend to them, and who are being reliable, who are being honest. And there's nothing wrong with being the planner, with being the person who reaches out, but just make sure that the people that are on the receiving end are meeting you halfway. Number 3 is, when in doubt, go back to the basics. Now, this sounds really simple, but anytime I have really struggled, it really comes back to needing to actually meet my fundamental needs. And as annoying as it is, sometimes going for a run or having a nutritious meal is all you need to be able to get to the other side of a problem. And there are certainly issues that are not solved by your basic needs being met. But regardless of what the problem is, it will never be made more complicated by meeting your basic needs. Number 4 is to prioritize confidence and comfort over trends and validation. In my early 20s, I dressed so much for the approval of other people. I wore clothing that was really tight, that felt really uncomfortable, that was trendy at the time. And over the years, I have started to dress in clothing that I would say is less stylish, but is made for comfort. And in most situations, it is very rare that I will pick style over comfort. Me being confident really comes down to being happy and comfortable in myself. Wearing clothing that is for the approval of other people often makes me feel like I'm further distancing myself from myself. Whereas when I'm wearing a comfortable jumper and a warm jacket on a cold day, rather than wearing, a short skirt and a cute outfit that will look good on Instagram, I always feel more comfortable in myself. Whereas when I have dressed in the way that I think others might expect or is a bit more trendy, I realize that I am dressing apart. I am dressing as somebody who is not necessarily me. In addition to that sense of comfort, I've also started to identify those kind of core wardrobe pieces and looks that feel very me. I'll give you an example of this. I made this reel the other day where I was going through all of these outfits, and I am such an outfit repeater. I have 3 or 4 jumpers that I switch between, and I tend to wear the same outfit over and over again. I love skinny jeans. I'm a millennial after all. And I love wearing big, comfortable sweaters. In addition to that, I never really change my jewelry. And this is what brings me back to the sponsor of today's video, which is Ana Luisa, because as you can see here, I have on a couple of gold pieces of jewelry, and I wear these every single day. I do not take them off. I wear them in the shower. I wear them to wash my hair. I wear them while I'm out. And these staple pieces make me feel so beautiful and confident and feminine. What I love about Ana Luisa as a brand is that they have something for everyone. Whether you're somebody that really loves silver, loves gold, loves statement jewelry, creating and curating your look using jewelry just enhances that sense of style. And for me, having dainty rings and some really beautiful dainty bracelets is my go-to. I have found that because these pieces wear so beautifully and because they are just so classic, that I don't really feel the need to continuously upgrade my wardrobe and my jewelry. They last forever. I have had my jewelry pieces from Ana Luisa for years, especially this one, this little heart ring right here. And it has stayed the test of time, and I just love them so much. I have this little moonstone ring that actually flips to this green stone, and depending on my outfit, I can switch it up. This dainty bracelet, as well as this one that has some flowers on it. And these are the pieces that I wear every single day along with my signature outfits. You will always see me in my Ana Luisa jewelry, a pair of skinny jeans, and a cute jumper. That is my signature look. And as I head into my 30s, I'm excited to just continuously embrace this love of my capsule, comfortable wardrobe. And I'm so glad that Ana Luisa is a part of it. If you want to check out Ana Luisa for yourself and find some of your own signature pieces to add to your wardrobe, then I'm going to go ahead and have the link in the description down below. Thank you so much, Ana Luisa, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's head on to lesson number 5, which is to find a challenge that moves your body. As a former professional athlete that moved throughout my 20s away from fitness, I found it really difficult to get back to the gym and get into a routine which got my body moving. I've talked about it so many times on my channel, but when I first started working out again, after years and years of stagnation, I struggled because there wasn't a very clear goal. And at first I really focused on just trying to get strong so that way my chronic back pain would be relieved. But what I've actually found is that the people that are most successful at getting movement into their day-to-day lives are those that have movement as part of a hobby. And this includes things like tennis, running, hiking, whatever it may be. And as I head on into my 30s, I think I might take up dancing again. I did dancing back when I was a kid. I did ballet, and then I did some contemporary dance when I was in middle school. I stopped when I was in high school because I was really focusing on my equestrian athletic career, but it's something that I'm going to be taking on into my 30s, is trying to find what that physical hobby is, because when I have had a physical hobby, I have found that I have felt stronger, I have felt healthier, I have felt more capable, I felt like I had more stamina, and I haven't really been able to replicate that with a gym routine because there's not a specific goal and it's not fun. So finding a way to make movement fun. Number 6 is about your professional life, and this is the advice that I would give anyone in their career, which is to work for someone you admire. I have worked with many trainers. I have worked in the Silicon Valley in medical device regulatory research. I've taken a job in education technology. I've worked as a research assistant for a professor at Harvard Business School. I've had many jobs. I've also worked for myself. I've built multiple businesses. And the one thing I will say that made the biggest difference when working for someone else was when I was working for somebody that I really wanted to emulate. Back when I was 18, I actually worked for a trainer. Her name was Lisanne, and she was my hero. She rode so beautifully, and she was just the most incredible coach, the most incredible horsewoman I've ever met. And in that year that I worked with her, I rode the best I ever have. I coached the best I ever have. I was so unbelievably confident because I had somebody to look up to. I had an example that I was working towards, and I was constantly learning. When you're working with somebody that you genuinely admire and that you want to be like, you will move heaven and earth to do the best work possible and to learn everything you possibly can from them. That being said, this also works in the reverse. If you're working for somebody that you do not admire, it is so difficult to force yourself to do good work. And having worked for many people, there is a serious difference in my work ethic, in my excitement about the job, my energy, the concerns I might have about burnout. I worked endless hours for Lisanne. We would be at horse shows 2 weeks out of every month. We would be up very late and would get to the barn very early. And all the while, I was taking night classes at community college. There was never once while I worked for her where I felt like I was burning out, like I was forcing myself to do anything. I wanted so badly to learn from her. And in that time, I think I have done the best work that I have in my entire career. And that includes having started a business and having started a YouTube channel and having had very demanding jobs. That, in my opinion, was the best job I've ever had. And if I were to give one piece of advice for myself back when I was in my early 20s, it would be to continuously try to find people to work with like Lisanne, people I genuinely looked up to, who I wanted to be like, and people who I was willing to learn and to listen to, who had my best interest at heart. And so find the people that you really idolize and go work for them. Number 7 is don't avoid failure, avoid stagnation. We as a human population have grown more and more failure averse. I would say that perfectionism is something that is widespread. This concern of being seen as uneducated, as ignorant, as incapable is something that we fear more than standing still and never learning anything. I have messed up so many times in my life, especially in my 20s. Whether it was heartbreak, it was a friendship, it was work. I have so many times that I can't even count. But each time I learned something about myself. I learned something about how I navigate the world. And hopefully people in my life agree that it has made me a better person. The times, however, where I felt like I was not growing were the times when I was the most bitter, when I was the most unpleasant to be around, when I wasn't a really good friend to others. And so stop avoiding failure, avoid staying still. Always put yourself in a position to learn. Number 8 is about your romantic life. Now, I can make an entire video about this because I have a lot of hot takes about dating. But as somebody who in their early 20s used a lot of dating apps, who went on, I think, about 100 first dates, you should date with the intention to learn, not with the intention to find a person. What I mean by that is that every experience that you have with someone is an opportunity to learn something about yourself and to learn something about others, to learn to empathize with someone and also who you might want to avoid. In going on 100 first dates, I met so many incredible as well as so many very boring people. And in that, I learned to overcome social anxiety, to have conversations with strangers, to overcome those nerves when it comes to small talk. And in those interactions, I learned something about how to live amongst other people. It wasn't about dating to find my person. It wasn't dating for marriage. It was dating with the intention to learn and to have conversations with new people. I also have a hot take, which is that I think you do need to actually date some jerks before you will actually learn what your boundaries are. I think we need to stop waiting for the perfect person to just show up. I think we need to date as many people as we can, learn as much as we can, without feeling the pressure that every single person that you meet may be the person that you end up with forever. When I met my current partner in 2022, I had come to London with the express interest in just having the experience and opportunity to date a lot of people in a foreign city. And what I meant by date is just go on a date. I just wanted to meet people, have a conversation, see how it is that I would interact with people in a new place. And I just so happened to meet my partner that way. But when I met him on that first date, all I cared about was just having a fun conversation. And that led to another fun conversation, and another, and another, and another. I didn't meet him and fall in love at first sight. I didn't, even within 4, 5, 6 dates, ask myself the question, is this my person? I just intentionally wanted to learn something about him. I wanted to learn something about myself. We kept the conversation going, and now here we are over 3 years later. Number 9 is that people pleasing only hurts you. And this kind of relates to one of my earlier points, but there comes a point when you need to learn to walk away. I spent so much of my early 20s trying to maintain relationships and repair friendships that were not good for me, that were not being met on an equal playing field. And what I learned is that the best thing that you can do when somebody has shown that they disrespect you and that they are not going to learn to respect you is to walk away. You do not need the last word. You do not need to kick up your heels and make a fuss about it. You just need to walk away. And that is the most powerful thing that you can do. Not only because you have taken your attention away from somebody who is looking for you to potentially grovel or to show that you are willing to drop your standard, but it also creates that boundary where you teach yourself what you are willing to put up with and what you are not willing to put up with. I'm a very understanding person. I try to extend empathy to everyone, but that doesn't also mean that I allow somebody to continuously disrespect me, because in doing so, I have proven to them as well as to myself that I disrespect myself, that I do not hold myself and my values to a higher standard. And that is something that, especially as I head on into my 30s, we will not be having any of. And lesson number 10 is perhaps the most important one, which is to be present as often as possible. We live in a world that is constantly changing, that constantly requires our attention. And to an extent, I think that it's really important to be clued in, to be as informed as possible. But there are also times when you need to step away, when you need to exist in the real world, in your environment, and with the people that you are physically with, and to remember and to appreciate living in that current moment. Back when I was a transfer student at UCLA, I just felt like I had made the most incredible leap, that I was given this insane opportunity to go to one of the most incredible schools in the world. And I just remember I just wanted to bottle that moment, to never lose that feeling. There's so much kind of melancholy in the final chapter or the final pages of a chapter. And what I did in order to kind of combat that feeling of hopelessness that chapter was closing, I would stand at the same spot basically every day that I was on campus, looking at Royce Hall. I would take a second, appreciate that I was there, and take a photo. I have so many photos of these beautiful sunsets over Royce Hall and just feeling so insanely grateful to my parents, to whatever higher being made it possible for me to study there, to really come into my own in that experience. And it's something that I try to carry on as a practice throughout my late 20s, is to always take a moment, even if it's just once a day, to just sit, be present, to experience the world around me, and to just reflect on how special it is that we get to be here, that we are alive in this moment, that we get to be surrounded by such incredible people, that we get to have these experiences, that we get to have these opportunities. I never take a single YouTube video for granted. I never take a single opportunity for granted. And that is something that I hope to continue. And that I think is a wonderful message to end today's video on. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you again so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video and for sending me such beautiful jewelry over the years. This is a staple part of my wardrobe, and I'm so grateful that you get to experience it as well. So if you would like to check out Ana Luisa, then I'll have the link in the description down below. Thank you all so much for watching. And if you are in your 30s or later, please leave a comment with your advice down below for somebody in their 20s. And for those of you in their 20s, put your questions down below. What would you like to know from somebody who's in their 30s or beyond? And I'll see you all very soon. Bye, friends.